The BMW X3 is a fantastic medium-sized luxury SUV. It exudes just about all the aspects you'd look for in a prestige car. Cabin technology, sophisticated looks, high-end materials and a set of cracking powertrains. But the model's been around since 2017 and its price keeps creeping up with only minimal changes. That leaves a huge gap for newer rivals such as the Mercedes-Benz GLC to saunter in suavely and take the crown. By all means, this sexy new Mercedes-Benz GLC should spank the BMW. It's much newer, right? Well, let's go and find out and see if that's the case. Where the BMW X3 lineup contains multiple variants, this car's an XDrive 30i, the new Mercedes-Benz GLC range only exists in a single variant, the GLC300. However, both of these cars line up fairly on price. Let's talk about the latest and greatest first. The Mercedes-Benz GLC300 is the sole variant in the lineup, that is, until we get an AMG version, and it comes more expensive than ever. Its predecessor topped out at around $100,000 drive away, but this new model, known internally as the X254, starts at $103,370 before on-road costs. Add on the Premium Plus package, which costs $6,900 and brings niceties such as a Burmester 3D sound system, augmented reality satellite navigation, digital light matrix LED headlights, and the drive-away cost of this car equates to around $121,000 drive away. Note, due to Mercedes-Benz special new agency sales model, there is no haggling with Mercedes-Benz dealers these days either, so there's no getting around that lofty price tag. The car gets an all-wheel drive system fed by a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine and integrated 48-volt mild hybrid technology. Overall, it produces 190 kilowatts and 400 newton meters. It also utilizes a 9-speed automatic transmission. Powertrain-wise, it's a similar affair in the BMW X3 XDrive 30i, but without the hybrid assistance. The X3 gets a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine which sends its power to all 4 wheels. That engine outputs 185 kilowatts and 350 newton meters, meaning it can't quite match the specs of the Mercedes-Benz. But then again, it's not as expensive as the Mercedes-Benz either. The X3 30i starts more affordable at $97,900 before on-road costs. But options on our car such as a metallic paint, specky laser lights and panoramic sunroof blow this car out to just over $117,000 drive away if you're in Melbourne like us. You can get all kinds of paint colours and options packages for either car, but let's run down some of the exterior design highlights of each before diving inside the cabins. The new Mercedes-Benz GLC subscribes to the brand's latest design language, first debuted on the S-Class before trickling down through to the C-Class, and then finally here on this GLC. Up front, we've got a wide grille with a huge Mercedes-Benz emblem, which also handles the radar system, and there's tiny individual 3-pointed stars as well. This car also gets thinner set headlights with matrix LED technology. All cars get AMG line styling package as standard. This car here is obsidian black metallic, one of several colors you can choose from. It also gets a set of 20-inch alloy wheels. You've got these side running boards along the side here. Let me know what you think of those in the comments down below. Up top, you've got roof rails, and you also get a panoramic sunroof as standard. The X3 is one of the last holdouts without a gargantuan kidney grille, which is becoming commonplace on every single other BMW model. Up front, you've got a large squared-off front bumper which has air intakes down the side. This car gets a set of BMW laser-light headlights. It also has a set of optional 21-inch BMW individual alloy wheels, and this carbon black metallic car also gets roof rails up the top and a panoramic sunroof. Now, these two SUVs are very attractive ways to do a medium-sized luxury SUV, but where these cars impress the most is inside the cabin. It's hard not to be wowed by the GLC300's cabin on initial entry. It all looks and feels very premium. The space is dominated by an 11.9-inch display on the dash, and the driver is also serviced by a 12.3-inch display in front. And that handles things like speed readouts, fuel data, rev counting and the like. Materials use is also done to a super high standard throughout. You've got really nice leather covering the steering wheel here. You've got nice metallic accents for the door cards and even super premium wood grain inlays for the dash up here. And the thing is, this car also lets in a huge amount of light thanks to that panoramic sunroof. And even when it gets dark, you've got ambient lighting, which is configurable in myriad ways in the infotainment system. And that'll display through things like door cards and within the air vents and stuff like that. And it really livens up the space at night. Now there's a copious amount of storage about the front seats as well. You've got a dual door open center console bin down here, which also has 2 USB-C ports. Close that up again. We've got 2 dual cup holders down here. You've got a wireless phone charger underneath the dash, which is kind of hard to access, but once your phone's down there, you won't really need it. And there's also a slot down here by the cup holders where you can store your keys or your wallet. In terms of cabin space, there's a lot of room for my legs, and I've got myself a nice driving position, but elsewhere you've got these really nice synthetic leather seats, which they might be synthetic leather, but they do feel built to last the distance. And for fake leather, it actually smells pretty decent as well. The infotainment is handled by an 11.9-inch touchscreen, which sits in portrait fashion. That's a little bit different to regular cars. And it's also feeling like it's a little bit angled towards the driver as well, which really enhances at-a-glance visibility when you're driving and on the move. The Mercedes-Benz MBUX software features some incredible technology and is refreshingly easy to use, where some other systems overwhelm with features. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity is included if you'd prefer to switch to those systems. Map screens display beautifully on the big wide screen, while most settings are easily called up using shortcuts or a quick few presses. I'm a huge fan of the augmented navigation system, which shows you a live camera view of the road ahead, then overlays directional arrows to show which direction you're headed. It's a seamless system which genuinely helps to explain exactly which way you need to go, especially when you're in unfamiliar territory. Overall, there's way more functionality to this car's infotainment system when compared to the BMW, which you'll find out in a minute. Jumping in behind my own driving position, I've got really decent knee room, which is nice, good foot room, and it's also illuminated. Now, I also have a decent amount of headroom above, and I'm not wanting for any more space there, but there are a few things missing in terms of amenity. You do get dual air vents up here, a little slot for storing things, map pockets, but the things I'm missing are USB ports. You don't get any of those. You do get door pockets down here, which can stow bottles and the like, and what I assume to be a slot to hold your phone for when you're watching Netflix on a drive. Around the back, you can kick open the power tailgate like so. That opens to pave way to a huge 600 litre space. It's really quite decent, and it's easily accessed thanks to this low loading lip. You don't have to lug items over a lip there, which is really handy. Now you can also use these switches down here on the side, which knock down these rear seats. It's 40, 20, 40 folding format, and under the boot floor, you also have a space saver spare wheel. But let's go see what the BMW is like. Perhaps we should have started in the BMW's cabin, because that Mercedes-Benz interior is a really hard act to follow. But it's not all doom and gloom inside this cabin, because it's still a hugely functional and well-appointed space overall, if a little old hat compared to that Mercedes. First row passengers are treated to a great amount of headroom and space for legs. There's also a great amount of adjustability to get that perfect driving position. Perhaps even more so than the Mercedes-Benz, because you've got a great amount of adjustability between the steering wheel going up and down, and the mirrors are also easier to adjust as well, so you can get that perfect wide-angle view of cars around you. But while it all feels well built and uses nice materials, it doesn't step to the lofty highs presented by that Mercedes-Benz. Now, storage-wise, you've got dual cup holders here in the center console. You've got a wide opening door bin, which has a single USB-C slot, and you've got a wireless charger down here underneath this sliding door. What isn't so impressive is a tech suite. You've got screen real estate for sure. You've got a 12.3-inch screen up here on the dash and a 12.3-inch in front of you. But it doesn't contain the latest operating system from BMW, that iDrive 8 software. That's exactly what you want in a prestige car, the latest and greatest, which this car doesn't offer. The 12.3-inch infotainment screen displays clear maps and a functional menu system, which is dead easy to navigate your way through. The screen is touch enabled, or you can use voice control. Fans of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto systems are free to wirelessly connect to one of those alternatives, though I'm content using BMW's proprietary system. There's also a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster screen and a head-up display, but these driver-centric displays don't have quite the same customization as you'll find in the Mercedes-Benz. Jump in through this small aperture opening rear door, and it's almost the complete opposite to the Mercedes-Benz. You've got more amenity, but space-wise it's much more cramped. Now, my knees here, there's not a lot of room to move them about, and there's decent foot room and it's illuminated, which is nice. But in terms of amenity, you've got a little bit more going on. You've got dual air vents, and this car has tri-zone climate control as well. Dual USB-C ports, and you've also got map pockets down here, and this fold-down center armrest opens to expose 2 cup holders. I also want to mention how upright my backrest is. It really does feel like I'm cramped in this space. I wish there was a little bit more recline to it. This X3 also does get a kick sensor power tailgate, which paves way to a 550 litre space. And like the Mercedes, it has a low loading lip, which makes it easy to load items in. It gets a 40, 20, 40 folding rear bench, but unlike the Mercedes-Benz, it doesn't have a rear latch here, so you can't do that remotely from the boot. Under the boot floor here, you won't find a space saver spare wheel because this BMW does have run flat tires. You do get an extra stowage space though. But enough about that, let's go for a drive. Interior comfort and cabin quality are only half the battle for prestige SUV buyers. They're also looking for a suitably premium drive. And the Mercedes-Benz GLC delivers a fantastic driving experience all around. It's powered by a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine which outputs 190 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque. That's quite a punchy set of outputs coming from a 2-litre powertrain, and it certainly feels as such in practice. The car uses a 9-speed automatic torque converter transmission, and it really serves up the right gear at the right time. I'm putting my foot on the throttle now, and the car suitably changes down gear and serves up the right amount of torque. It all feels very punchy when you get on the throttle, and the powertrain response is really impressive as well. The car is underpinned by a 4-matic all-wheel drive system, and even though it's a sunny Melbourne day, we haven't had any troubles with traction whatsoever. And Mercedes-Benz says that this car will do a scant 6.2 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, and that's pretty impressive for what is not even a performance SUV. In addition to that 2-litre turbocharged powertrain, this car has a 48-volt mild hybrid system, and that can add up to 17 kilowatts and 200 newton meters for short bursts. And that's likely in the situation where you're going for an on-road overtake. It'll give you just that little bit of extra power, and also when you're coming up to coasting, the car will sort of switch off its powertrain and coast on that electric power. It's very handy for those situations and actually saves fuel as well. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, Mercedes-Benz claims a 7.7 litres per 100 kilometre fuel rating on a combined cycle. And actually, we've been seeing pretty close to that. We've got 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres on our combined cycle, which encompasses a bit of around town duty and also on freeway use. One thing I've come to love in this car is its augmented reality navigation system. And you can see on the screen, when we're driving along and have a destination in mind, the car will actually show up a camera feed of the road ahead and then overlays a graphic of directional information which you can use to follow the road around and then head in your intended direction. It actually really helps when you're in unfamiliar territory, and I've actually come to like it when I'm driving around town and going to new destinations. In terms of steering, the GLC300 has a light steering feel which makes it really easy to maneuver in town, but the system does change up when you change it through one of the 5 driving modes. This car does have an individual driving mode where you can change your own settings, or it also has an off-road mode where the car will prime itself for light-duty off-road use. One area where the GLC300 really nails a brief is just how subdued the noise is in here. You're not hearing anything coming from the wheels, nothing coming from the wind. It's really quiet and really quite refined in this cabin. It's so impressive going over speed humps and potholes, and it really just eats up all those little imperfections. You really don't feel that much coming through to the cabin. It really feels nice in this regard. All right, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable inside this Mercedes-Benz, but let's switch it up and go inside the X3. Jumping into the BMW X3, everything already feels a little bit tighter, a little bit harder edged. It certainly is that little bit more of a sporting SUV. Now, part of the reason why this BMW will ride a little bit harder than the Mercedes-Benz is because the car has run-flat tires, and they have a little bit of a harder edge to them and aren't quite as compliant in absorbing that road impact. Similar to the Mercedes-Benz, power in this car is supplied by a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, which outputs 185 kilowatts and 350 newton meters to all 4 wheels. But unlike the Mercedes-Benz, it doesn't have that mild hybrid technology, which can act as a little boost in times of high throttle load. When it comes to acceleration, there's not much in it. This car does 6.3 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, according to BMW itself. So there's actually not that much of a difference despite this car being down on power. It certainly feels sprightly enough when you're getting on the accelerator, and there's good pickup for good overtakes as well. A factor which BMW has got down to a fine art is its 8-speed automatic transmission. This thing is super slick when it changes speed. The car just automatically serves up the right ratio. It's really, really well-rounded overall. Against BMW's fuel efficiency claim of 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres on a combined cycle, this car is doing a lot worse compared to the Mercedes-Benz. It's doing 8.8 litres per 100 kilometres based on our testing, which has encompassed the exact same roads. It really is more thirsty on the fuel. Just like the Mercedes-Benz, this BMW has its own individual driving modes, but one thing it doesn't extend to is off-road mode. You don't get any sort of XDrive mode in this car, which we're sure probably won't impact many of the buyers of these prestige SUVs, but the fact that the Mercedes has it, it's quite nice. Vision-wise, outside of this cabin, you're getting a really good view of the road ahead, perhaps even better so than the Mercedes-Benz. There's also a greater range of movement in the steering wheel adjustment. Even though it's not electric like the Mercedes-Benz, you can get that right driving position with a wheel right in front of you. And you've also got a really good view of the mirrors as well. One final thing I wanted to mention about the BMW X3 is its body control. Going through corners, it really just keeps its composure. It's not upset by mid-corner bumps. It definitely is the SUV that leans more into the sporty side of things. And for me, in my opinion, I don't think that that's exactly what buyers spending $100,000 on a prestige SUV will want, especially when you're not going to that full M or AMG level. The Mercedes-Benz definitely is the more prestige driving SUV, and it doesn't let up too much in terms of powertrain outputs and dynamic ability either. It really is a full package. Well, where does that leave us? I'm not even sure I need to break it down for you because, frankly, it's a Mercedes-Benz which spanks its competition in the BMW X3. Not only does it present a much nicer interior when it comes to cabin technology and comfort, but it's also presenting a much better ride quality. In comparison, the BMW X3, it leans a little too far into the sporty side of things, and its value equation certainly doesn't stack up in 2023. So if you've got $100,000 burning a hole in your back pocket, you'd be far better placed to put your money in one of these compared to this one. If you've enjoyed this video or you've learned something interesting about either the Mercedes-Benz GLC300 or the BMW X3 XDrive 30i, please like this video on YouTube and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our future content. As well, you can read the full comparison review on Drive.com.au.